Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the German Tier 9 heavy tank, the E75. So is this tank any good? Oh yeah! I have to say I really like this tank. But then I like heavy tanks. If you like heavy tanks and you want a tank that when you angle the armor, it actually works, this is the tank for you. It doesn't have many weaknesses. The lower plate is very weak and you need to keep that heavily angled or covered preferably. And the cupola can be penned by a lot of tanks, but it's fortunately not really big. And if you keep your tank moving, it can be hard to hit. So, a very good tank for people who like driving heavy tanks. Has armor you can rely on, and I am not frightened at all about going in tier 10 games in this tank. I find it very enjoyable. The armor still works. There's some tanks you have to watch out for, but other than that, it's very good. So let's get into the review. The tank has 1,920 hit points, which is very good. The most hit points goes to the German VK and the Conqueror, the British Conqueror. They both have 1950, so we're close to the highest. And the worst is the AMX 5120 with 1750 hit points. Now, weight-wise, this thing is the heaviest Tier 9 heavy tank, weighing in around 92 tonne. The lightest would be the WZ111 1-4, the Chinese one, at 45 tonne. So you can definitely ram in this tank. It works very well at ramming, and I have a super heavy spore liner fitted to assist in the ramming, and also to mitigate HE damage from artillery. So speed wise, well, it's not too bad considering how heavy the armor is. It does 40 kilometers an hour in forward and 15 in reverse. Now admittedly, on the flat it's pretty good. It's not so good going up hills, but it's not tragically bad. I actually thought this tank was surprisingly quick for and maneuverable even for a tank with so much weight and armor. The best in class is the AMX 5120 with 65 kilometers an hour in forward and 20 in reverse. But you know, the worst is the VK with 30 forward and 15 in reverse. So it's pretty good. Track traverse of 30 degrees a second is alright. It's pretty good, really. The worst is the VK with 20 degrees a second, and the best is the AMX 5120 with 32, so we're up there with the better ones. Turret traverse is slow, though, at only 18 degrees a second. 19 degrees a second. The VK and the STI both have 19 as well, and they're the worst in class. The best in class is the Conqueror with 35 degrees a second. Now, the view range on this tank, pretty darn good at 400 meters. Now, quite a few of the heavies do have 400 meters. The VK, the Chinese WZ, the Russian IS-8, and the Conqueror all have 400 meter view range. So it's not that unusual. The worst in class is the STI with 380. Signal range is really good at 740 meters. The worst is the STI at 730, and the best is the Conqueror and AMX 5120 at 782. But all of them have good signal range, so it's not really an issue. Camouflage, well, it's a pretty big tank, so camouflage is pretty darn awful, but none of them have great camouflage. The best camouflage is the WZ111 1-4, the Chinese. That's the best in class, but the E75 is the worst in class as far as camouflage goes, but none of them are great, so it's not a big deal. Gun depression, this tank has great gun depression. 8 degrees of gun depression and 15 degrees of elevation, which makes it the equal best in its class. The only others that match it is the STI and the M103. They both have 8 degrees as well. And their elevation is pretty similar, 15, 16 degrees. The worst in class, well, there's 3 actually. The VK, the WZ Chinese, and the IS-8 Russian all have 5 degrees of gun depression. So 8 is really good. Let's have a quick look at the grind for the tank. Look, really, it wasn't too bad a grind actually. I found, look, the armor works straight away. The upgrade, or actually no, it was, I just remember now, the standard turret is awful. And I think is actually bugged. I'll just go back to the garage again. With this is not the standard turret, this is the upgrade turret. But with the standard turret, hits to the side here, which should be a ricochet and bounce off, for some reason tanks seem to be penetrating it as if they were overmatching it, and I think the stock turret in this tank is bugged, and it is a bit of a disaster driving this tank with a stock turret. So I would recommend the first thing you want to upgrade if possible is the turret. Once you get the upgraded turret on, the tank becomes very, very tough indeed, so long as you are angling your armor and doing everything you can to protect your lower plate and your cupola. The guns, even the stock guns, the guns you start off with are pretty good in this tank, so there's nothing really bad about that. It's really the turret you want, and the turret enables you to get this top gun. But the earlier gun still works quite well anyway, just doesn't do as much damage. But this gun, the top gun, has a 3.82 rate of fire, which is fairly slow, but it's okay for a tier 9 heavy. 246mm of penetration is very good, and 490 average damage is great. You can go to 311mm of penetration with the premium ammunition, which is awesome, and still does the 490 damage. Or the HE has 65 with 630, which is also not bad. If you want to use that for eliminating some lighter targets, you could do that. 0.38 accuracy is not bad for a heavy tank, so it's fairly accurate for a heavy tank, but it's not good enough to snipe. 2.9 second aiming time is also not bad for a heavy tank, so the gun stats are pretty good actually. It is a heavy tank though, so you don't want to get caught out on your own where medium tanks can come around and flank you. You really want to be with a pack of heavies where possible. Alright, so basically, yeah, this is the kind of tank where you can be on the front line. Side scrapping works very, very well in this tank, and very enjoyable tank to drive for heavy tank drivers. I have a super heavy spall liner fitted to mitigate, as I say, artillery damage, and also to mitigate damage to myself from ramming. I have vents fitted just to increase the help speed up the loading time of the gun, and I have a gun rammer fitted to speed up the loading time of the gun as well. My crew is fully trained. My commander has 6th sense. He has brothers in arms, but none of the other guys do, so it doesn't count. And he's working on recon. This guy has snapshot repairs and he's working on firefighting. This guy has off-road driving, smooth ride, and he's working on controlled impact. This guy has situational awareness repairs and is working on firefighting. And this guy has camouflage repairs and is working on firefighting. The reason I have guys working on firefighting is that even though with the tier 8 and above Germans and Japanese tanks, they did reduce the chance of the tank catching fire from hits to its transmission, this tank still catches fire quite regularly from hits to the lower plate. So really protecting your lower plate is a high priority. A fire extinguisher is quite a possible thing to have, and definitely crew training, firing for crew is a good idea on this tank. So yeah, it does catch fire a lot from hits to the engine, and the engine does get taken out a lot as well from the front. And the lower plate is kind of like butter. I'll talk to that a bit more about it in Tank Inspector. The ammo rack also gets hit quite often in this tank, so it doesn't blow the roof off very often, but it does get damaged pretty often, and you really want to watch out for that. Also, when you do catch fire, it burns for a lot. Like you can get like 800 points of damage from a fire in this tank, so it's not good. I have small repair kit, large first aid kit fitted. Let's get into Tank Inspector and have a look at some gameplay. The E75 in Tank Inspector. This tank has magnificent armour. Let's have a look at it. So the lower plate is 130mm, which is really good. The upper plate is 160mm, which is also really good. And they are very heavily sloped, as you can see. The lower plate, though, does get penetrated if you front on like this very regularly. You can see it's taking about 260 odd mils to 280 mils to penetrate it frontally, but it does get penetrated a lot. A lot of people will use premium ammunition against this tank, so watch that. If you can cover the lower plate behind a rock or something, you've got a much better chance. Now that said, if you angle the tank, not 45 degrees, probably about 35 degrees, that you can see right there, we're getting pretty much the same armor on the side and the front when it's on that angle. So that's about the angle you want to have this tank on, which is about 35 degrees, I think. The upper plate needs about 280 mils. The lower plate is pretty much impenetrable there, and the side needs about 280 and is impenetrable at the back half. So that's about the angle. Most people will still shoot at your lower plate even when it's this angle, and it's basically, as you see, unpenetrable. When it's this angle, you really want to try and hit here, or aim for this weak spot. Now, not a lot of people shoot this weak spot, and here's why. Have a look at it when it's not colorized. So we've got these plates here, spaced armor here, and you can see here, it's pretty good. Don't shoot it with HE. Shoot it with normal ammunition. But you can get in there with it. It only takes about 180 mils or so to penetrate it. Or 200 mils it's coming up here. Depends on how much they've angled the tank. But that's probably your best bet if you're close enough to hit it accurately. And you want to hit it there. Don't hit it too low down here because you'll hit the track and it'll be absorbed by the track. So yeah, that's the angle. Now, the entire side of the tank is 120 millimeters, as is the rear of the tank as well. So very heavily armored. And if the tank is angled around about 45 degrees-ish, you're still going to need over 200 mils of pen, or around about 200 mils of pen to get through the tank, even from behind if it's angled. So light tanks, scout tanks, that sort of stuff have a lot of trouble with this tank. The turret is very good. The frontal plate of the turret is 252 millimeters thick, although it's only very lightly sloped, so it's pretty flat, but still, that's really good. The mantle area is impenetrable. It is 252 mils, over 252 mils, and varies from, around about 600 to 800 mils. There's a couple of weaker little spots, that little spot there, but really, it's pretty much impenetrable, the mantled area, so stay away from that. The sides of the tank are 160, the side of the turret, and cannot be penetrated from. It is a ricochet angle, no matter what gun you have. The cupola is pretty darn good too at 160 mils. Well, you can see there, that's coming up at 170, 180. So if the tank is angled, the cupola is probably your best bet for penetration, but it is pretty small. And if you're driving this tank, keep the tank moving forwards and backwards. You can wiggle your turret as well, or wiggle your tank, and make it hard to hit the cupola, because that is a spot that average tanks can still pen. The roof section here is 60 mils and is basically a ricochet. However, if you come across a tier 10 183, for example, which is a 183 millimeter gun, hence its name, 3.6s are 18, so it will overmatch the roof of this tank, and this will be a guaranteed pen. So if you have a 183 in front of you aiming at you, move and go somewhere else if you can. If you can't, start wiggling and keep the tank moving. Do not allow them to hit this area, because they will automatically penetrate. Sides of the turret, as we said, are 160 millimeters, which is really good. Some of the back is, but this big back plate here is 100 millimeters only, so that is a weak spot to shoot for from the back if you're attacking this tank from the back. That's about it. The top deck of the tank is 40 millimeters, which is really good. So it does stand up well to attack from artillery and HE shells, and I'll have a super heavy spall line fitted as well to reduce the chance of too much damage from that. So yeah, angle the tank. You can angle the turret as well, even though these sides look like they'll become easy to penetrate. When you angle the armor is just so thick. So on this angle here, we're getting, what are we getting, about 270 out of the front and about 230, or so. I'll angle it a little bit more, 248, 262. So you can angle the turret a fair bit as well, as you can see here, to try and even it out a little bit if you've got tier 10s and things firing at your turret. Let's get into the gameplay.
Let's go.
The map is Windstorm. And it's a tier 9 game. The enemy team has, I think, 5 tier 9s on the team. And then there's a bunch of tier 8s. Is there any tier 7s? There is a couple of tier 7s as well. Anyway, we're moving into position. As you can see, the speed of the tank's not bad. We're doing 40 kilometers an hour across. Yeah, it's not a paved road or anything. Very, very mobile, I think, for a tank that's this heavy and this well armored. Heavy tank. Very impressive indeed. I got to tell you, I love this tank. So what we're going to do now is do a demonstration of side scraping. I tend not to do great. Actually, I do alright at tier 9 tanks. I tend not to do great at tier 10 tanks, but in this tank, I do well. I think it's a great tank for somebody who maybe isn't the greatest player, but is at least knows how to angle their armor. If you can do that, then you can do well in this tank, and you can have a big impact and help your team out a lot just by taking up good positions. So here we have spotted, that's a WZ, is it, or a VK? Oh, FV201, tier 9 heavy. We fired a shot. Don't know if we penetrated or not there. I'm having trouble reading the red colouring, so hopefully you can read it and see what tanks I'm aiming at. That's a big TD there. That looks like the WZ. I don't want that shot. I've got a lower plate here of this tank. 498 damage. Great damage this tank does. You can see here that I'm just moving backwards and forwards a little bit in case they're trying to shoot my cupola, just to discourage them from shooting my cupola. So I'm staying in my side scraping position, but just moving enough that if they're... We get another good shot into him there. Just enough that if they're trying to target my cupola, they have to think, oh, I won't go his cupola, he's making it too hard. That's what I'm trying to do by moving forward and backward a little bit. WZ. We get one into him. So we've bounced a shot from the Jag Tiger and we've bounced a shot from the FV201. Although the FV201 did track us with his shot. So he was obviously going for our lower plate. Or maybe he was just trying to track us. Another shot into his lower plate there. What was that? We did 500 and something damage with that shot. Now, we have been hit. He took out our engine with that shot and did 520 damage from that Jag Tiger. So we've been tracked. So you can see there what I said about the engine getting taken out. So he's obviously gone in through our lower plate and taken out our engine. Luckily for us, it didn't catch fire, but it is not uncommon for it to do so. Damn you, WT. He puts a shot into me for 810. He must have had a bit of an angle on me there. Actually, let's just stop and have a look and see where that went in. That looks like that's where it went in there. Wow. That's massive penetration to get that in. So, I don't know what the penetration is on that gun. I know it's good, but yeah, he's managed to get through. He had enough of an angle there. So that looked like the tier 7 25/2 there. Not a bad little TD. A lot of people don't like it. I quite like it, but yeah, can't stand up to this tank. So he bounces another one off us. So even though we got tracked there, luckily we were tracked with our tank quite well angled. So it didn't suffer at all there. Now I have already used repair kits to repair my engine. I had 2 repair kits, small and large. I've already used them both. So that is one thing with this tank. You do need to, because smaller tanks that can't pen you will try and just take your tracks out so the other tanks can destroy you. We get another good one in there into that FV201, which I think is at the tier 9 medium, the FV, or not sure. Oh no, that's that tier 8 thing, isn't it? Oh, he's got no hope. He shouldn't really move. That tank has no hope against this. He shouldn't even be there. So as you can see, we've had a pretty big, well, when I say a big impact on the game, we donk our shot into the wall there. I don't know what happened. But really, they haven't been able to advance. We've just stopped them at this corner. I have taken a fair bit of damage though from those 2 shots that did pen me. And we fortunately bounce a big shot from the WT there. And we also bounced the FV201 again, which I don't think the FV201 can possibly penetrate me unless I do something really silly. So he really shouldn't be there. He should move. Wasting his time. Now you can see here we are at fairly long range against these TDs, so they're bouncing. If we were really close range, it would be a lot trickier against these TDs, but then again, they would be in trouble at close range, because the thing is, at the moment, I'm having trouble seeing them there. I'm not seeing them until they fire with those bushes there. Even though we do have really good view range, 400 meter view range in this tank. Now everyone's moved, and we've just actually capped into the game. So even though we didn't move from the one spot, we still managed to get high caliber, and we got a steel wall as well. Class 3, so it is very hard to get mastery in this tank. People must have fantastic games in this tank, and I don't doubt it. If you got someone who's a good driver and someone who probably used premium ammunition as well in this tank, they would be getting massive games, I think. So let's have a look at the next screen, and we didn't finish on top for XP. We finished 3rd for experience, but obviously we finished on top for damage because we got high caliber. Next screen, we fired 11 shots. 9 of those 11 hit, and all of the shots that hit did penetrate. So, great gun, great gun. Of course, at tier 10, you'd get less penetrations, but it still is pretty damn good. Total damage of 4,267. We received 14 hits, and only 2 of those hits penetrated. So it's a great armor. We blocked 3,230 with our armor, and that doesn't count anything that hit our tracks, because that doesn't count. So pretty darn good. We spotted 2 vehicles, damaging 5, destroying 1 of them. 60,000 income, and after all the expenses taken out, our tank was not destroyed, of course, and 3,000 missing for one of the little repair kits. I have a bunch of the big ones, so that didn't get factored in. It was 33,000. Now, if you factored in my big repair kit, well, that's another 20 grand, although I only paid 10 grand for it because I bought a bunch of them on special. Anyway, the profit on this tank is good for a tier 9 tank, because you can consistently do well in this tank, I find. 820 XP is a class 3 in the tank.
Time to roll out.
The map is Ensk, and it's a tier 9 game. The enemy team has 4 tier 9s. Great map for this tank, because this is a brawler that side scrapes fantastically, so great. Lots of buildings, really good map for this tank. I'm not showing you any tier 10 games, but trust me, it does do well in tier 10. The armor still holds up. It's just that I don't do as well in tier 10, of course, but you will get more people more often shooting premium ammunition at tier 10. Just seems to be full of people who can't handle losing. Anyway, so we get a shot in there, only a tracking shot on the STI. It does have very good armor as well. And take up a side scraping mission now against the STI. And I accidentally locked on auto aim lock there. I've got a new mouse, and I keep accidentally hitting my middle mouse button and locking onto tanks with the mouse. I'm actually not doing too bad anymore. I'm getting used to it. But so you can see there, this guy bounces off me. I bounce off him as well, but you can see armor holds up well even against other heavies of tier 9 heavies. Now this guy's made a big blue. Oh, he was lucky. I've just reloaded, but can't do that twice to me. So IS-8 frontal armor, well, armor all round with the IS-8 armor isn't good for a tier 9, and so he pays the price there for exposing himself. I didn't aim that very well. I'm not really good at shooting STIs. They are pretty tough, and I'm not real good at it, so I kind of donked that shot. But the IS-8 has foolishly come back for more. Once again, I'm not reloaded. Will he once again pull back in front of my gun? Actually, this is an IS-3, is it? Oh, it's an IS-3, sorry. I beg your pardon. I thought it was an IS-8. Here he comes. Thank you. Whoa, did we just do 700 damage? No, someone else hit him as well. No, we did 464. Okay. But yeah, great damage for a heavy tank this. And you can see it's just a big battle. They've messed up, we've messed up, and so long as I am careful with my side scraping. How did that guy just disappear? There he is. That time we get one into the to him, doing good damage. IS-3 bounces off me. IS-3s have a lot of trouble with the E75. The gun, if you're angled, the gun has a lot of trouble getting through the armor with standard ammunition. I'm waiting for this guy to pull back in front of my gun, but he's not quite that silly. I've got an AT-15 moving up there a little bit. I've got to be a bit careful because I'm worried about this STI coming around the corner as well. I start turning, the AT-15 has a shot at me. I'm just trying to re-angle so I can get him as he comes around the corner. And once again, I got that stupid auto lock thing again where my gun locked. See, the IS-3 came around the corner, they had a shot at me. STI bounces off me because I'm angled to them. AT-15 tries to go through the side of my armor, but I'm too angled. That's why I'm staying where I am. AT-15 bounces off me again. I'm trying to hit his cupola, but he's moving really well. So instead, we put one into the lower plate. The AT-15 does get one into me. I've got to worry about the IS-3 now, so I pull back a little bit. This time I'm going to put one into his cupola that he can't move again, and we managed to finish him. I was lucky there. But you can see how much we bounced. It was the AT-15 only started penetrating me once it pulled away. The STI also got one into me, but now I'm angled again. He's just fired. So we hit him and track him. I angle myself now for the STI, which I'm pretty sure is going to come out and have another shot. Moving backwards and forwards so he can't shoot my cupola, as you can see. He donks his shot, he aims for my lower plate, and with the tank being so well angled, it's very difficult for him. My teammates have come around behind now and finished off that IS-3. This guy has turned, which is the end of him. We're not winning by that much, but we have nailed. They only have one tier 9 left today. Look, it's still pretty even. Although we're up, we're definitely up, and we have pretty much defeated them on this side of the map. So as you can see here, even though we're turning and manoeuvring around town, we're still doing sort of 20 kilometers an hour. It's not bad. I managed to get that shot in without fully aiming because he was pulling away, and we do manage to penetrate him. The RHM and the Tiger II both bounced off our armour. This armour is epic. Now, some people will say the armour's no good because they will take this tank, drive around in the open, thinking that I've got great armour. You can't do that, right? There's no tank you can just drive around the open like you're Superman. Of course, you've got to be careful. You've got to angle it. Do your best to stop people getting your sides and getting around behind you and all that. But if you can angle it and you're top tier, like we are in this game, and you don't sort of just drive around in the middle of the open, you stay near buildings and hard cover, you can have fantastic games. So I aimed for the lower plate, but actually ended up hitting the upper plate of that Tiger II, and it still went through. Whereas he bounced off me. So it just shows you that this tank, tier 8s really struggle, and tier 7s, it's virtually impossible for them against this tank. But yeah, tier 8s really struggle against you. It's only really tier 9s and tier 10s that can guaranteed pen you with AP ammunition. But you will even bounce a lot of tier 10s firing premium ammunition if you correctly angle your tank and keep it moving. Now, I don't care if I take a hit from this Ferdinand, but I am angling. He manages to put one in. Now, let's have a look. Just stop that for a second, see if we went in. Okay, he actually went in through our lower plate, I think. Oh, maybe not. I think he went through our front wheel. That shot through the lower plate was somebody else. But you can see there, everybody aiming for the lower plate. The green shots are bounces. So everybody aims at the lower plate in this tank. I'm surprised no one's aimed at the cupola though, but I think it's because I've been moving. So I'll restart it again. I'm waiting to reload, but my teammate gets the kill, and they're all dead. So this time class 1 of the tank, and once again, high caliber and steel wall. We do get a lot of steel walls in this tank. So yeah, good game, top tier, but like I say, when you're not top tier, you can still have, I still have a lot of good games, and I really, really enjoy this tank. And there's not many high tier tanks that I really enjoy driving. So we finished on top for XP and well on top for damage, doing almost double the damage of anybody else. We fired 15 rounds, 14 of them hit, which, look, it was nearly all close range stuff, but the gun is quite accurate for a heavy tank. 11 out of those 14 shots penetrated. If I hadn't have accidentally auto-locked onto the AT-15 there, I think I would have been able to finish him off a lot quicker, but anyway, such is life. We received, so we did 5,043 damage. We received 21 hits, of which 5 penetrated. So the armor, like I say, is fantastic. 4,800 block, not including anything hit tracks. We spotted 1 vehicle, damaged 7, destroying 2 of them, a little bit of assistance damage, 70,980 income, which is pretty huge, and 38,000 profit, which is very profitable. So for a tier 9 tank, this tank is profitable, and part of the reason that is it's easy to do a fair bit of damage and earn the coin in this tank than it is in a lot of the others, for me anyway. 1,187 raw XP is a class 1 in the tank. I haven't got master in it yet. I hope I do, but I think it's probably going to need about 1250, 1300 to, or maybe 1350 to do it. Thank you for watching my review of the E75. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.